Convenient. So cold. I opened my eyes and dazed. From outside of the window, the sunlight splattered across the floor. But even that was enough to remove the gloominess in the room. I tried to stretch my body. The sunlight failed to dissipate the cold. The freezing air made me shudder. Day 3. I was getting used to this room's moldy smell, but the night was still too cold to sleep properly. My stomach burned from starvation. Not only did I feel worse physically, but mentally as well. After letting me prove my identity through the call, she took the phone outside to prevent me from listening to the conversation. About 10 minutes later, she returned and lit a cigarette. The smoke permeated the air. There was no way for me to know what they had discussed, and all my questions got no response. Father's voice through the phone sounded plain as always. He was more skeptical than nervous. Even after a few questions, he still didn't believe I was kidnapped. I tried telling my status, but the phone got taken away before he could make any sense out of it. Maybe he couldn't even recognize his own son. Ironically, despite my chest being burdened by unease. So what now? Facing the gray ceiling, I try to figure something out. I mustn't give up. Rather than taking the risk to escape, I try to convince them. For hanging out with them during the past few days, I learned that they weren't that difficult to communicate with. I just hoped it wasn't just an illusion. I looked around the room and found the little girl sitting next to the wall, surrounded by books from God knows where. Vixis was gone. Based on the door sounds I heard, she probably left around early morning. What time is it? I asked her. She poked her head out from behind the book. This question should be fine for her to answer, right? 7. So early? I never expected time to pass this slowly. This is when I used to be able to sleep until noon and just skip breakfast. I was so bored that I even felt bewildered by the situation. They say time connects with emotion. Time under happiness flies, while time under pain lasts forever. There was a sci-fi novel that I read before. I couldn't recall most of the details, but one specific part left quite an impression. It was a nation with a special punishment. They paralyzed criminals' bodies, but kept their consciousness intact. When the criminals were left in the cell, all they could do was think through eternity without connection with the outside world. With life support, they could still breathe, but only breath. I finally understood what that intriguing concept would feel like after experiencing it myself. You couldn't move your limbs. Pain and hunger stood out like a sore thumb. All my attempts to break free failed, and the knot was still tight as ever. Who knew rope could be this durable? It was counterfeit butter and pudding in the market, yet the rope was still this sturdy. The government really should award this sort of top-notch manufacturing. My train of thought only led to another headache, along with my sore throat. Could it be that I caught a cold? Should I conserve my energy or try to talk to her? I hesitated a bit, but decided to talk to her. Aren't you afraid? Of what? The cops coming for you. Facing my question, she stared at me in silence. It took her a while to respond. Would they? She asked me quietly, "What do you think? Kidnapping someone plus asking for a ransom. If that wouldn't get the police's attention, I don't know what would." We don't want to do this either. We have tried our best. They have done worse things to Big Sis. Like what? She turned her head away and didn't answer. The conversation seemed to depress her. It took quite a while before I heard her behind the books. I'm scared. But if Big Sis needs help, I'll help. You want to help her, you should let me go. I offered a chance to say this upon seeing her expression, pressing her lips to suppress her fear. Whatever, I shouldn't push too hard on the subject. I gives myself an excuse, not fully certain why I decided to stop there. After that, she didn't speak, and only indulged herself in the book silently. Anything to eat? I had a chat with her on different subjects, hoping to figure out some intel. She rustled around and took out half a steamed bun, then placed it next to me quietly. Crackers first, now steamed buns. They were all cheap foods with large shelf life, yet lacked an appetizing value. The outside was dry like an air-dried tardigrade skin. It was quite hard to chew. I could barely taste anything in my mouth. I swallowed down with the water and started to miss the American brunch from a few days ago. The craving made me sigh in despair. Is it that bad? Yeah, it would be much better if there was a fried egg with pepper. She stared at me surprised, only opened her mouth a little while later. You know how to cook? Sorta, just simple stuff. I always had some simple ingredients ready since I lived alone. While I was lazy, I just cooked some instant noodles plus a fried egg and called it a meal. Most of the time, it just put everything from the fridge into a crock pot. I didn't really care as long as they were cooked and filling. What? Is it strange? Seeing her hesitate there, I asked. I thought you would have someone cooking for you and bringing meals to your room every day. Like a butler. You've watched way too many soap operas. I didn't stay in a hotel with some kind of service or anything. My breakfast is usually just a sandwich, bread, or onigiri from the breakfast shop like regular folks. Oh. That's how mundane my breakfast was, she responded disappointedly. Did you think of me as some playboy billionaire from a movie who spent all day long in bars to hook up with chicks? How about tea parties? Right before I could explain myself, she threw me another ridiculous question. Tea parties? I repeated the words and confirmed that I didn't hear wrong upon seeing her nodding. Okay, so my ears are still function. I didn't misunderstood her. She was referring to a traditional British afternoon tea. Like those things with 3 layers from bottom to top. You had sandwiches, scones, and cakes. You tasted them in that order too. She decided that just sounded like a great pain in the ass. Never tried it. I didn't even hear of it that often. In magazines, they said rich people invite friends over with lots of food and tea. Right, right. I know what tea party means.
じゃあお茶会は開かないの？
So no tea party for you? Nope. I like her curious look. I reply without
な
hesitation.
んで？
Why? Making tea and buying cake is a ton of work, and you have to clean up the mess after inviting people over. Too much trouble. I didn't even talk to my family much, so the whole idea of us having an happy afternoon tea time was just
準
imaginable.
備してくれる人がいないの？
No one prepares it for you? No one hired someone just to make tea. For this sort of luxury stuff, wouldn't it be more convenient to have it in some cafe? She quietly lowered her head, as though pondering my words. Do you by chance think my house is some fancy mansion with many servants and all I need to do is ring a bell? Oh dear, I was just kidding, but based on her reaction, I was right. I live by myself in a 300 square foot condo. I do my own laundry and cleaning, plus chasing the garbage truck to throw away the trash from time to time.
でもお金持ちでしょ？
But aren't you rich? My dad is, not me. I make no difference for them, but I corrected her nonetheless. Also, being rich and being wasteful are two different things. One, do things by oneself if possible.
なんで？
Why? Why what? The quiet girl started to talk and ask me question after question, with much curiosity. Like her big sis, there was no hatred or mockery in her eyes, just pure
私
curiosity.
がお金持ちだったらきっと大きな家に住んでお掃除とお料理する人をいっぱい雇う。
If I had money, I would live in a big house and hire many people to cook and clean. Is that so? For me, I just needed a big place enough to live. I didn't even have that many friends, so what was the point of all these fancy desires? Besides, the bigger the house, the harder to clean. Hiring someone to do it would be an extra expense. There's no point in troubling myself like that. If they did everything for you, then what would you do? She stumbled silently upon my question. Clearly it had never crossed her mind before.
ゆっくり休んで。
Just rest. Rest forever? You have everything done for you. You'll become nothing but a useless waste of space. I tried to explain, but lowered her head like a wrecking ball.
わかんない。
I don't know. Suddenly I understood the source of all these deep-rooted intimacies, false imagination. Some I enjoyed a comfortable life with no effort, while they got trapped in poverty despite their best efforts. Envy and depression accumulated and eventually turned into anger and hatred. False imagination came from all the rumors and media portrayal, picturing the rich as people crashing into others while drunk or high after having crazy parties. At the end of the day, the media just wanted to provocate news. A fancy car killing someone was always more marketable than a cheap-ass one causing it. Integrity has nothing to do with wealth. There's no lack of rich people living a rather simple life. You just never see them in the news. They do whatever they can to produce things people want to see. Look at the media code of intelligency. That doesn't mean jack shit in the audience divine era. What about the truth? Neither the journalists nor the audience care. We see what we want to see. Despite knowing this full well, we still choose not to resist it. So what now? There you go. You really believe in her?
姉ちゃんは悪い人じゃない。
Yes, Big Sis not a bad person. She not without hesitation, not realizing she was the only one locking me up here. That didn't count as a bad person. The standard was just way too loose.
本当に何もしないから、お金をもらったらあなたを解放するって。
She wouldn't really harm you. She will let you go when she gets the money. Oh, really? Not the first time I heard it from her, but I still didn't know where that confidence came from.
約束してくれたんだから。
Yes, she promised me. Anything she... Do you just believe in anything she says? That's disbelief, even though she was still young. Such blind trust was far too ridiculous. Not harming me? Where do you think I got all these injuries? By accidentally hurting myself? But I couldn't deny my words. Where did your big sis go?
知らない。
I don't know. Tried to start up a conversation and still made no progress. Don't you care at
や
all?
ってなさいって言われたの。後で帰ってくるって。
Big sis told me to guard you, and that she would be back soon. The girl calmly lowered her head as though living in her own world, without one bit of anxiety or guilt as a criminal. Aren't you afraid?
何が？
Afraid of what? In fact, what if the cops find you saying, I don't know, won't cut it? She pursed her lips and said nothing. There was some hesitation in her expression when she stared at me. How advanced technology has become, there are surveillance cameras everywhere. It's only a matter of time before they find out. You know how good your big sis is. She wouldn't be able to protect you by that point.
私は。
She tried to open her mouth, but paused a little and then swallowed the words. Give it some thought. It seemed like she did care, but just somehow suppressed her anxiety. Or her big sister's stubbornness. She might let me go if I pressure her more. There are quite a variety of books, from even magazine references, books, to even cookbooks. Only thing they share in common is their poor condition. The theory of justice, the Lucifer effect. Quite a few things I've never heard of. It might be some used books picked up from somewhere. You really like reading, don't you? Yes. She had been reading in the corner for a few days now. She hadn't changed to another book after finishing one and never got bored throughout the afternoon. I would lose my patience if I had to read for more than an hour or two. Book selection was pretty diverse, ranging from novels to magazines to travel guides. It didn't appear there was any real selective progress. Where'd you get all these books? You borrowed them? Unlikely for them to buy books if they had to kidnap me for money. There was no Liberty barcode on them either. On top of the fact that they looked quite old. This gave them to me. She answered without raising her head and kept flipping through the pages. Kept flipping through the magazine. Big sis wants me to read more so people won't look down on me in the future. Right. That explanation was unexpected. I thought she would say educated people were all liars and rich people were all demons. All that talk about how demandable the rich people are, yet she still wanted to be like them. So did your sis go to school?
中学卒業まで。
Only till middle school. She raised her head with a rare smile on her
姉
face.
ちゃんはああ見えて実は成績がすごく良かったの。
She might not look like it, but Big Sis had good grades. For real? Good grades. I tried to imagine the girl in a school uniform. I just couldn't picture her as someone with good grades. And I made no progress. She didn't know what was going on, nor was she willing to contact her big sis for me. And I felt horrible. My fluctuating body temperature confirmed my theory that, and the muscle soreness indicated a fever. Shit. Feeling sick now of all times, I couldn't even stay awake, let alone escape. The girl was still reading a book next to the wall, having no clue about all the ideas floating in my mind. She was by herself with a knife, only a few steps away. My hands were still tied up, but I could still move them a little. I could call her over and knock her out and cut the ropes. I could call her over and knock her out and cut the ropes loose. A sense of unease surfaced along with all sorts of possibilities in my mind. What if she dodged it? What if the door was blocked? Could there be someone else? I didn't see much of a chance to succeed, nor did I have any idea where to start. I just might end up hurting her accidentally. She didn't seem to know what she was doing, nor had she actually threatened me. I should avoid violence against her, unless I had no choice. In my mind, I started to think of other options.
いたの。
Big sis? Huh, what? Came back to my senses and realized she was staring at me. All sorts of ridiculous ideas intervened in my brain. I shouldn't make any rushed decisions with this messy
姉ちゃん
mind.
のことが嫌いなの。
Do you hate Big Sis? Who would like their kidnapper? It's not like I have Stockholm Syndrome. I would reply like that, but I kept it down. It didn't matter what I thought. I had to come up with a response that wouldn't make her drop her guard based on what she wanted to hear. Saying that I like her might be too much, so I should reply with, I don't know. She just looked at me after my response. Silence spread across the air like a wall between us. I don't really know her, so I can't say if I like her or hate her. I see.
姉ちゃんは悪い人じゃない。本当だよ。
Big Sis is not a bad person, really. She hugged her knees as though trying to convince herself. The quiet voice seemed to lack some
借
confidence.
金を早く返したいだけ。本当はこんなことをしたくない。
We just want to pay off the debt. We don't really want to do this. The girl's eyes under her bangs were as clear as a lake surface, void of any deceit. She never suspected her sister of any other motives, or simply using her. After all this, she still chose to believe in her big sis, and tried to defend her. Why? Seeing her desperation, I only felt emptiness.
姉ちゃんが頑張って稼いでもあの人たちに毎日毎日お金を取られていく。姉ちゃんが借りたお金じゃないのに。
She worked so hard to make money, but they kept coming to her for more, even though it has nothing to do with her. She's still murmuring her explanation, yet it annoyed me like tinnitus next to my brain. But she genuinely wanted to persuade me, even though her big sis might have no reasons. I felt nothing. She might have realized, but I just didn't care. I wanted to escape and return to my normal life. I didn't care if this big sis was a good or bad person. I had a miserable past. Why she admitted this crime had nothing to do with me. Hearing her serious expression, I opened my mouth but swallowed my words eventually. I sighed lightly and couldn't tell if I envied her naiveness or hated my cold heart. What do you picture me as? What do you picture me as? I have no idea how much they misunderstood. I couldn't help but ask. Her answer was surprisingly simple. Her answer was surprisingly simple.
お金持ち。
A rich person? Remembering all the past conversations, I sighed helplessly. I think you must have quite a misunderstanding about rich people. Rich people aren't all bad people. So, he's not really believing me. Try to judge for yourself. I don't know what the news you've seen or what your big sis has told you that makes you think all rich people are bad. But what I have actually done, do you think everything she said is true? Try to judge for yourself with your own eyes. I convinced her subtly if she could understand, then perhaps I could get out of here without much risk.
私にはわからない。
I don't know. She refused my glance and didn't even want to hear more from me. I said lightly if I couldn't change her mind right now, then I had to wait for another chance. So what now? The date stopped at August 30th, 1999. If it is the date the original owner left the place, then it must be at least 15 years ago. No wonder it looks this miserable, or rather, it's kind of a miracle for this place to even still be standing after so many years without any sort of maintenance. So what now? Oh. The yellowing paper reveals signs of age. It seems to be some popular video game from the past. That isn't really useful. That really isn't useful. Oh no. Don't tell me the big fights tonight. I don't want to have to actually put out emotion. My cloudy consciousness gradually cleared. It looked like I fell asleep without noticing. The sky outside of the window was dried crimson. The freezing wind brushing against my cheek made me tremble. I didn't know how long I had slept, but my body showed no signs of recovering. The ropes cut into my flesh like ant bites. My struggling out of annoyance only led to torn skin. What time is it?
5時。
5. The girl was at the same spot, quietly like a delicate porcelain doll.
どうしていつも時間を知りたがるの？
Why do you keep asking me the time? Because that's all you would tell me, right? Knowing the time wouldn't change anything, but the sense of cluelessness was just unbearable. Shit, my head hurts. She was not a good conversation partner, but I tried anyway to keep myself awake. If you buy me coffee, I can give you all the money I have. Hear me say the most random things like a drunk man.
コーヒーが好きなの？
You like coffee? She raised her head and stared at me with curiosity. That big sis would have shut me up. But she at least chatted with me here and there. Nothing more pleasant than drinking coffee in this weather. Well, except a hot bath.
私は嫌い。苦いもん。
I don't. Too bitter. You learn how to enjoy it. Different coffee beans have different tastes. How you prepare it is also a factor. Filter drip isn't real coffee at all. Only pour over coffee can bring out the fragrance. There's something wrong with those latte lovers. The only proper coffee is black coffee. They may as well just drink milk. Here on McTree, she made a comment.
おしゃべりさんだね。
We really like to talk. Do you have any better alternative? Here's my question. She started to contemplate seriously.
寝る？
Just sleep? She spoke timidly, as though fearing that I would scold her. Great idea. Please let me know how to just sleep with my hands tied and my body hungry and cold. I started coughing before I could respond. I didn't even have the strength to joke around. If this kept up, I would cough myself to death before they killed me. Feeling like this was worse than death. I called this line from a book and found it super fitting. The girl stared at me for a while and came over carefully with a knife. Don't you worry, I couldn't resist you, even if you were empty-handed. And I felt my slightly cold touch. You have a fever. Just let me rest. Not wanting to waste more energy, I sighed tiredly and closed my eyes. I heard the sound of her stepping back and I felt her glance at me with worry. It says remain silent, so I got a feeling this is the fight. I can't tell though. There's the sound of a bike's motor outside of the window. The girl raised her head sharply and ran out to welcome her big sis. I had no idea where she'd been. The girl's hair was still messy and she held the plastic bags from a convenience store in her hands. I'm back. Everything alright? The little girl worriedly explained the status of my body. The big sis frowned upon hearing it. Okay, I'll take care of it. You should eat something now. After calmly patting her little sister's head and asking her to take the plastic bag, the girl coldly looked down on me. So what's wrong with you now? Who knows, food poisoning maybe? I wanted to show my weakness before I gathered my strength to reply. Still choke around, it probably isn't too bad. The smell of cigarettes from her made me dizzy. She covered my forehead with the back of her hand, then checked my body temperature in a much rougher way than the little girl. What a fragile body, rich boy. Can't take some wind. I don't want to waste more energy. I just quietly watched her examining the rope. She forcefully pulled it, making the rope bite directly into my flesh. She should care more about me spreading disease than escaping. I'm not a greenhouse flower like you. This sort of cold is nothing. I still have to work even with the fever. If I take a day off, I might just lose my job the next day. You have no idea, right, rich boy? I had no idea, nor did I give a fuck. I didn't pick the job for you, so what was the point of complaining about that to me? It was hard to keep your emotions under control when you felt horrible. I decided to change the subject to avoid an argument. Did my dad pay? Why would I keep you here if he did? Do you think I like tying you up? They did make contact yesterday, so they should have been discussing the details of the ransom. Under provocation, I forced myself to focus on the intel at hand. Common ways were money transferring or cash in the bag. However, money transfers could be traced and physical cash was difficult to arrange. I heard some kidnappers used Bitcoin or other virtual currencies instead, more secure and flexible than cash. Even a high scholar with a back could kidnap someone. The question was, how to get out of this situation.
気絶しても医者を探してくるほどお人よしじゃないんだからね。
Save your breath and just rest. I have no desire to call a doctor if you pass out. Thanks for the heads up. She had a point. I sure didn't find more things to torture myself with outside of just my body. I tried to lean back and let the wall take some of the weight. This was a more comfortable pose than what I had in the past few days. It only made me feel just a tiny little bit better, far from having a good rest.
姉ちゃん、これ全部食べていいの？
Can I have these? All these? The girl took out all kinds of food from the bag, bread, cookies, and steaming hot oden. The smell only made my headache worse.
もう食べたからどんどん食べなさい。
I already had dinner, so you just dig in. She replied softly, treating her in a totally different manner. Hey, is it one thing to not share your food, but all of the foods you could pick? The girl stopped moving her chopsticks and looked at her sister with a pleading expression, as though asking her what to
フェア
do.
なことじゃないか。あんたらがごちそうを食べてる時、私たちは即席ラーメンだ。それにこういう安い食べ物じゃどうせお眼鏡にかなわないんだろう。
Isn't it only fair? We were eating instant ramen when you were having a feast. There's no way these sorts of cheap foods are to your taste. What the hell? They're nonsensical accusations. I was too exhausted to retort.
何？文句があったら言い返してみな。
What? Say something. I've had enough. Yeah, it's the fight. The fierce headache took away the last of my patience. Her provoking expression finally made me lose control of my emotion. Right. I am a rich boy who lives in a giant mansion, risen my mouth with expensive wines, and has dozens of maids and butlers. A snap of my finger, I could have someone with, a snap of my finger and someone will bring me whatever I want. I smashed the plate to the ground after 2 bites, then whine about what kind of crap this is. Someone drives me to school every day. I have LV bags, luxurious watches, all my accessories from top to bottom cost millions of Taiwan dollars. Your poor ass can never even afford one of them. How's that? Is that what you have in mind? There was no thought behind those words, just my accumulated rage and frustration coming out like a flood. I was tired of this conversation. There was no middle ground. They forced their imagination perspective upon me and totally ignored what they had seen. You don't know shit about me, nor do you give a fuck. From the very beginning, you had decided to hate me. Just because I lived a better life than you. All rich people should die. All of them are trash. That can't help themselves from running over people with their fancy cars, right? So cut the bullshit if you don't know anything. The blood all rushed to my head. I was close to passing out from the headache, but yelled at the top of my lungs anyway. The room echoed with my sound. This little girl curled up next to the wall with a scared expression, as though I wasn't tied up.
何を勘違いしているの？
Are you fucking kidding me? Her eyes flashed with a raging fire, and she yelled back at me with equal force. Unlike the weakness the little girl showed, this big sister stood up forcefully.
ご飯もろくに食えないことがある？夜はどこに泊まるのかを心配したことがある？毎日借金取りが家に来る気持ちはわかる？
Have you ever felt hungry? Even ever worry about where to sleep at night? Ever had someone burst open your door to collect debt?
あんたのことが分かっていないだと？じゃあ私の何が分かるんだ？言ってみなさいよ。
I don't know shit about you. Then what the fuck do you know about me, huh?
あんたらが学校に行っている間に私たちは何をやっているか知ってる？あんたらが眠っている間に私たちは何をやっているか知ってる？
Do you know what we were dealing with? With when you were going to school or when you were sleeping?
だからあんたらが嫌いなのよ。何の の資格があってそんな暮らしができるんだ。なんで恥じずにそんなことが言えるんだ。
That's why I hate your lot. But what right can you live like that? But what right can you speak like
私
that?
たちがどうなっても気にはならない。どうせあんたらとは関係ないことだと。
You don't care about us, cause it's none of your business. Yes, it isn't. I don't care what happened to me. I just wanted to vent all my frustrations frustration from my chest. So should I feel guilty for the Sarabian refugees? Feel responsible for ISIS? Give me a break. Why should I feel responsible for your life? Why should I kneel before you and apologize? I have nothing to do with your poverty.
私のせいでもないんだ。
And it's my fault? Her raised fish smashed against the wall. The girl's roar was mixed with sobbing. Her voice echoed through the room. Everything seemed to stop at that moment. Her face was twisted with rage, with her lips turned blood red from biting. I could also see her hand trembling.
私はこんな真似を喜んでやっているとでも、いい暮らしがしたくないとでも。私だって金を持った家に生まれたかったんだよ、畜生が。
You think I enjoy this? You think I don't want to live better? I fucking wish I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth.
どうして何もせずに贅沢な暮らしができる人間がいるんだ。なぜ私はこんな生活に耐えなければならないんだ。
Why can some people have a comfortable life without doing anything? Why does my life have to be a living hell?
言ってみろよ。
Tell me. Feeling the girl's emotional accusations, I couldn't respond immediately. It was neither of our faults. It wasn't even about any individual. It was something that was decided before our birth. No reason, no explanation. The world is just not fair. I don't know what she said before I repeated it. Hearing that, the girl burst into laughter. It sounded relaxed yet mocking, mysterious, crazy laughter.
そう。世の中はもともと不公平だ。
Yes, this world isn't
だ
fair.
ったらこのクソったれの世の中に何があっても不平が言えないんだろ。
So none of us should complain about what happens in this goddamn world, right? Not able to find any words, I averted my gaze. Exhaustion took over me. Once I calmed down, I could barely talk when I leaned against the wall weakly. Someone might call the cops if he yelled this loud. She looked at me over her shoulder and clicked her tongue
黙
unhappily.
った方が身のためよ。私だって死にそうな病人を殴りたくはないんだからね。
Shut up. I don't want to beat up a dying person. How nice of you. I said half jokingly, feeling much more relaxed after releasing all my pent-up thoughts. I couldn't focus my eyes anymore. During my fluctuating body temperature, I powerfully closed my eyes. There was only everlasting loneliness in the darkness. Tired. Cold. How much longer before this was over? Would I be free if I just gave up? Could I just let it all go and sleep forever? It is hot. Amidst the cloudiness, an icy cold hand covered my forehead. I had no strength to open my eyes and could only identify the speakers from their
情
voices.
けないやつめ。たかが風くらいでこの寒く。
What a pussy. Acting like a dying man just because of the cold. Easy for you to say. I deserve some credit for remaining sane after being kidnapped and treated like this.
じゃあ
Is
彼
this?
死んじゃうの？
Will he die? Hearing the mumbling from the little girl, I realized how my senses became sharper after I closed my eyes. Even the air temperature felt extra vivid. There was another hand on my forehead, along with the scent of a
人
cigarette.
はそう簡単に死なないよ。
It takes more than that to kill someone. Despite her words, there was doubt in her voice. It took a while before I heard her
彼
voice
を見
again.
ていて。ちょっと出かけてくるから。
Look after him. I'll be right back. I suddenly felt a weight on my body. A soft cotton blanket held in my body heat, making me feel much warmer. I could sense the girl next to me with her gaze, and maybe even her breathing. My eyes were closed, but I still felt her gaze. No, it's probably just my imagination. I couldn't connect the broken thoughts in my mind. I passed out again. Ah, you're back. Mommy needs to head out and take care of things, so have dinner without me. You can eat whatever you like. Lies. If Daddy calls, just tell him I'm in class, okay? Liar. Be a good boy, okay? The laughter of an unknown man, hurried footsteps, and the sound of an engine starting. After removing my shoes, I found myself in an empty living room. I lay down on the sofa, and my mind was blank while I stared at the hanging chandelier. I realized now that this big house was too big, so huge that it made me feel lonely. Back at the scene of the crime, there was no one in the dark alleyway. The golden moonlight shined upon the fenced construction site. The criminals always returned to the scene of the crime, a foolish notion, but there was no exception. One couldn't bear the self-doubt, even with ignoring others' gaze. Was there any evidence left behind? Had the cops started taking action? Laura took a deep breath while lighting up a cigarette. The heavy scent penetrated her nose, but it wasn't enough to ease the uneasiness. She took out a newly bought cold medicine from her pocket. She wasn't sure why she did that. She didn't care about that boy's survival. She didn't even intend to let him leave here alive. It was only now that she realized murdering someone was not easy. He was no longer just a thing. Once you talked to and touched him, he was a living person. It was time to head back. She decided not to think further. She also hadn't slept properly for days now, just relying on nicotine and alcohol. But she had to keep going for the ideal life she and her family only deserved.